Welcome to Discussions in the Afterlife. My name is Colleen, and this is Jim.
And today we're going to discuss a little bit of what we've learned over the years, the nuts and bolts of the afterlife. What's going on over there?
Right, and what we do in our studies, it's a question and answer session that we use recorders that are set up around to catch any answers we might get.
Yeah, and we've learned where to put them in our respective houses. There's good locations and bad locations, and over the 20 years we've been doing it, we found all the good locations.
Yes, and during these studies, there's often a spokesperson for each small group that's gathered around recorders. And they use the word like we when they go to answer or make a comment about what we're asking.
Yeah, and we asked, are there spokespeople? And they said yes, there are. And exactly why, we don't know. I know you don't like the term of levels, lower level, upper level people, but there's something to it that lower level people just don't have all the abilities that some people do, and they have talked about levels. Our great aunt couldn't stay with our father when he was in hell for the few years that he was in the afterlife. He was in hell, but his aunt couldn't stay with him because she was on a higher level. They told us that.
Right.
So we know about the levels, and they even use doors and stairs to get around. They just like us. They use a door here at Colleen's house to come and go. We have a recorder that sits right there, and we can hear them coming and going, and we know they're coming and going because they're saying hello, they're saying goodbye, they're like, they're the normal things that we do as we enter and leave a house. They use staircases. There's a staircase in my house in Panama that goes up to the living quarters on the second floor, and there's always a fella posted at the top of those steps, and he's like checking IDs as if making sure you're allowed to be up there. Otherwise, you got to stay downstairs. It's crazy.
Yeah, there are people that do stay downstairs because there's a recorder down there. So we do capture voices that, but of course, in Panama, our father kind of came through a window for whatever reason.
Yes, he did. Yeah. There's a window next to the front door downstairs, and he crawled through the window instead of using the door, and they mocked him for it.
Well,
It's
who wouldn't?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous when the door's right there. But,
Right, and then here at my house, I wasn't doing a study. I invited my sister-in-law, Nancy, over, and she pulled into the driveway, and I hadn't seen her for quite a long time. And as she got out of the car, there was a knock at the window upstairs, and she thought it was me knocking, and I wasn't upstairs. There was no one up there. I was in the kitchen, kind of getting ready for her to come over. So it turns out in the next study, I asked, who was knocking on the window, and the answer was Tim. And of course, Tim tried to deny it at first.
he did.
He was a little nervous about saying he did it, but eventually he did, and he apologized. So then I asked in the next study, does a person get in trouble for knocking? And a man said, the great doom. And another man said, they clean your stuff out. And another guy says, you're not staying here.
Yeah, Tim got in trouble. At the end of the day, they're not supposed to be seen or heard. But occasionally they make a mistake and they get in trouble for it. They pay the price. And believe it or not, and I've talked about this before, money is important in the afterlife. At one point, I was in Panama and we were talking about this, and a fella says, if you become indigent in the afterlife, you're going to get fired from the house. Fired from the house if you go broke. And I asked, the next study, really? You're going to get fired? And a woman replies, all of that is danger. A man replies, don't need them. And a guy real close to me in the kitchen where I'm sitting, that's exactly, boy. That's how he said it too. It was ridiculous.
Right. Well, there was this guy named Joseph in a house that we named the Hilbert House. And we had gone there for at least a year, maybe more, pretty much once a week, as often as we could get in. And it was an old house that was just being used for storage. No one lived there.
Right.
And there was this guy named Joseph.
Yeah, and he kind of had that voice, like special needs, you know, a high pitched voice, and the actual pitch would like vary up and down. Kind of sounded like, you know, like a male, but he's like talk like a kid. There's no good way to tell you otherwise. But the one particular week walked in there, and we had been going there for a long time at this point. We've probably been going there for 6 months already. And just that one random day, we walked in there and we heard this noise, loud noise. We thought it was kids outside somewhere on a dirt road that runs behind this place. There's nobody outside. We're looking all over. And here, when we played back the recorders, it was somebody in the house screaming my name 4 times. Jim, 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 Jim. And so the next week that we go over, we ask, and a fella in the corner of the room. We had 4 recorders across the back wall. And the one fella says that was Joseph. So now we start questioning. We had a lot of questions for Joseph. The next time over, I imitate Joseph saying my name, and he repeats my name twice and says, yeah, I did that. So he admits it. And here, we're recording him when he's talking now. He is walking back and forth between the 4 recorders because we hear him a little louder on each recorder as he's walking past it. So we can judge that he's moving back and forth along the back wall. And the next week, we walk in there, and we always had a recorder on. We started a recorder in the truck.
Outside, yeah.
Yeah, we started one of the recorders on outside, and as we walk into the house the next week, we record Joseph with that very odd voice of his. There's Jimmy. And now, though, we notice that he's becoming he's further away, as if he's getting pushed away, as if he's over communicating with us, and he's getting in trouble for it. So every week now he's getting quieter and quieter. And here, this particular week, we notice that he's just at the one recorder at the bottom of the steps now. He's not moving around anymore. He's at that one recorder, and he's getting quieter and quieter and quieter.
Yeah, and then so I decided to ask, is Joseph silly? And he shouts, yes.
But that shout was super distant.
It was, yeah, but it was, he kind of knew it would be super distant the way he shouted that. Perhaps.
That's true. That is true. And then the next time over there, we didn't hear much more from Joseph. And the next time we were over, I say something to the effect of, Joseph, I miss you, buddy. And Joseph laughs. In real time, we can hear that real high-pitched voice of his laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I don't understand it. We don't understand it. But I did ask that one time, it was hard to hear you last week. And Joseph replies, 'cause I shift around. We don't know what that really means. We only hear him from the one recorder, so he's not walking back and forth anymore. The following week, we go in and I ask, Joseph, shift towards us. Because we're up at the one end of the room. The recorders are at the other end of the room. We always hear him from that corner spot over there. Shift towards us, I ask him. And from 8 feet away, it's not far, it's a tiny house. He responds, I don't know how to do that. So there must have been obstacles within that 8 feet distance from where we are sitting and from that recorder that we have capture his voice on. there must have been some kind of obstacles because he didn't know how to shift towards us. And then the next week,
Yeah.
I ask again, is Joseph, and we're told Joseph is not around today. I started asking about him.
Right, right. So the following week, knowing that Joseph isn't around, or he wasn't, I asked for Joseph, and a man in the doorway said he's not here.
They got rid of him completely. They moved him out. He was just too communicative.
Like the guy knocking on the window. They packed his stuff and he couldn't stay here
Give him the boot.
anymore.
Well, there you have it. We're going to have more for you as soon as we're going to dive deeper into this subject and see what more we can find out about the afterlife for you. Subscribe. That's important. Thumbs up. And leave a question.
Yeah, leave a question.
Yeah,
sure.
Leave a question and we'll ask them about it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.